The shoulder patch worn on an Army uniform is important to soldiers and veterans because each of those colorful patches has a history behind it. When you become a part of a military unit, you become part of its story, part of the history behind the patch. Hi, I'm Jim Bromley, and this is the Roving Historian channel. As a former Army aviator, I have an affinity for the 1st Aviation Brigade in Fort Rucker, Alabama. I was stationed there twice, first as a student and then later as an instructor pilot. The 1st Aviation Brigade carries the nickname of the Golden Hawks. Makes sense when you look at the shoulder patch. The Gold Hawk represents aviation, of course, and the sword is taken from the MAC-V patch, signifying their origins in the Vietnam War. Blue is the color of aviation, while the orange, gold trim, and red hilt of the sword represent Vietnam. The Golden Hawks are in the schoolhouse now, but this video is a short history of the 1st Aviation Brigade during the Vietnam War. In 1965, as the U.S. Army's involvement in Vietnam rapidly grew, the universal use of the helicopter in this new frontless war became obvious. The Army had to have a means to maintain tactical and administrative control over all of its divisional and non-divisional aviation assets in country. It did this with the creation of the 1st Aviation Brigade. In April 1965, the USA Aviation Brigade Provisional was activated in Vietnam with the existing 13th, 14th, 52nd, and 145th Aviation Battalions reporting to it. In August, it became the 12th Aviation Group. Once it doubled in size, the 12th Aviation Group was used as the basis to form the 1st Aviation Brigade in March 1966. The brigade served in Vietnam from May 1966 until March 1973. At its peak strength, the 1st Aviation Brigade had over 4,000 helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, and approximately 24,000 soldiers assigned. The organization became so large that the brigade was organized into aviation groups. The groups were then assigned aviation battalions and companies, or squadrons and troops in the case of cavalry units. The 1st Aviation Brigade was responsible for 40% of the Army's helicopter assets and 100% of its fixed-wing assets in Vietnam. In 1969, the brigade carried more than 6.5 million troops in more than 4 million sorties, flying more than 1.5 million hours to accomplish this monumental mission. Units of the brigade performed brilliantly throughout the war and were instrumental in inventing and perfecting the art of helicopter warfare. Upon withdrawal from the Republic of South Vietnam, the Golden Hawks were sent to Fort Rucker, Alabama, to serve as a training brigade where they are still stationed today. During the Vietnam War, the 1st Aviation Brigade and its subordinate units constituted the largest operational aviation brigade in the Army. As such, the Golden Hawks were involved in practically every operation of note during the conflict. However, Lam Son 719 stands out because it involved a heavy use of aviation assets, including the 1st Aviation Brigade. This operation demonstrates both the successes and failures in the use of helicopters during the unconventional war that was Vietnam. It also is demonstrative of the sacrifices made by the air crews who manned them. Operation Lam Son 719 involved a massive use of Army helicopters. The operation took place from February 8th to March 25th, 1971. Its mission was the coordinated insertion of South Vietnamese troops by air and armored units into Laos. While the ground troops were strictly South Vietnamese, the United States provided logistical, aerial, and artillery support. The intent of the operation was to drive the North Vietnamese regular army out of areas of Laos flanking the South Vietnamese border. As United States forces were not allowed to operate on the ground inside of Laos, the American portion of the mission was given the name Operation Dewey Canyon 2. American lift helicopters ferried South Vietnamese troops into Laos. Helicopter gunships provided close air support for AVN units and destroyed an estimated 88 North Vietnamese P-76 tanks. Unfortunately, the operation was considered a failure on the ground when the South Vietnamese forces took heavy losses in their withdrawal from Laos. Combined U.S. and AVN helicopter losses totaled 108 destroyed, 618 damaged. During Lam Son 719, American helicopters had flown more than 160,000 sorties. 19 U.S. Army aviators were killed, 59 were wounded, and 11 were missing at its conclusion. Lam Son 719 itself incurred a great deal of controversy inside and out of military circles as to its efficacy and results. The operation served as a lessons learned report for the Army, none of which detracts from the hard work and courage of the air crews who wore the Golden Hawk's shoulder patch. Today, the 1st Aviation Brigade is responsible for training aviation officers, warrant officers, and soldiers with a variety of aviation military occupational specialties. The Golden Hawks Brigade headquarters and most subordinate units are stationed at the United States Army Aviation Center for Excellence, Fort Rucker, Alabama. The 1st Aviation Brigade commands 3 distinctly different battalions, each with a unique mission to train young soldiers and officers. The 1st Battalion, 13th Aviation Regiment, and the 1st Battalion, 145th Aviation Regiment are also at Fort Rucker. The brigade is also the parent organization for the 2nd Battalion, 13th Aviation Regiment, which conducts unmanned aircraft systems advanced individual training, drones, and graduate level training at the largest unmanned aircraft systems training center in the world, located at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Along with its many command responsibilities, logistical support requirements, and administrative duties, the brigade's primary mission is to train and develop future aviation warfighting leaders. If you enjoyed this History Behind the Patch video, I hope you'll hit that like button or leave us a comment, especially if you're a veteran of the 1st Aviation Brigade or if you flew on Lam Son 719. Tell us about your service. Visit our channel to get more History Behind the Patch videos, and please subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos and you'll be helping us build the channel. If you're a fan of World War II history, I also wrote a book on the 509th Parachute Infantry Battalion titled The Boldest Plan is the Best. They're the unit that made the Army's first combat jump. The Geronimos of the 509th also parachuted behind the lines at Salerno, made a beach landing at Anzio, and jumped into southern France. It's an amazing combat chronicle. There's an Amazon affiliate link to the book in the description if you'd like to check it out, or you can watch the video we made about the unit and the book. The link is right up here over my shoulder. Thanks for watching and supporting our channel, and we'll see you next time.